Now, this is Baruch Fleischman, and in the last year, we went through various different occurrences that took place, let's say, basically in the Italian peninsula. But we were able to also show the extent of the conquests of the Byzantine Empire, and also the foundation of the Holy Roman Empire at that time. This is what was going on in the world in the 9th and 10th century, Jewish world in the 9th and 10th centuries. Then we came over and we mentioned and we saw over here, believe it or not, the Normans, who were really Vikings, came down from the north and actually having established themselves somewhat in France, invaded southern Italy as well. So we saw all of that. Now we're going to go to a wholly, completely different view, but it's moved on into the 12th centuries, which is the 1100s, which is what, approximately 1,000 years ago. So this is a decorated page in a Karaite Bible. Now I have to understand what's going on here, and so this is what is the Karaite Bible anyway. This is called Religious Ferment and Sex in Judaism, and this going on and growing until the 12th century. Let's see what Dr. BEINART writes. He says, from the end of the 7th century, the Jewish Middle East was the arena for religious sects that claimed that they had the power to redeem the Jewish people, the people of Israel. Between the years 685 and 705, so this is going way, way back now, or we're talking about a long time ago, a Jewish sect known as the Essenians was founded in Persia. Now we're going different, and I'm just going to move this map a little bit, by Abu Isaac ben Yaakov al-Hasfahani, from a place in Isfahan, that's also called Obadiah, who claimed to be the Messiah destined to redeem the people of Israel from their dispersion. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring the maps at the beginning was where we were talking about here. Let's say here this is Byzantium, or what we're concerned about in the other maps, going over to the Holy Roman Empire over here. But now we're going to come into a different area altogether, an area of the Middle East, what we call the Middle East, areas around Persia, and areas around what today is Iraq, etc. So we're going to see how that works. That's what we're playing with now. So he says like this. Let's see where we are. He says 7 times, so that's not where we were. He says, claimed to be the Messiah destined to redeem the people of Israel from the dispersion. He led a revolt against the Muslims. So this we're talking about this person, Isaac ben Yaakov al-Isfahani, but was defeated and killed. The basic principles of the sect were asceticism, that is, they non-physical, including divorce, the prohibition of eating meat. They didn't eat meat. And drinking wine. They drink alcohol. A ban on divorce. They didn't divorce either. And prayer 7 times a day. So the modern day Jews pray 3 times a day. Some say 4, but 3 times a day. Based on the verse in the Psalm, he says, 7 times daily do I praise thee. Some of its tenets anticipate doctrines adopted by Anan. Who is Anan? The founder of the Karaites sect. Now, the word Karaite really comes from the Hebrew word kara, which means to read, or to... Yeah, so we'll leave it at that. The Essenian sect continued to exist after the death of Abu Isa. Yudgan, Abu Isa's disciple and heir, declared himself to be a prophet. Let me get this down here where we can see it. A prophet and Messiah, founding a sect that was named after him as Yugdanites. Another name, Mushka, was the founder of another sect called the Mushkanites. Somewhat more is known about Moses Parsi refers to Persia, probably Abu Imran, born in Baghdad, who too founded a religious sect settling in Zafram near Kermanshah, before moving to Tiflis, which is also called today Tbilisi. So we're going to see those things in a map in another shir. His sect, which became known as the Tiflisites, rejected the doctrine of resurrection, some different attitudes about in Judaism, and other basic tenets of Mosaic law. So from here I conclude, or I think that it's implying to us here that Jews wound up in far-flung places, or places where they had been for a long time, separated from the main body of Jews in the land of Israel. But it's here, for example, in Persia. So Persia is a completely different place. So whenever we're talking about something altogether different, and as a result, we see that different kinds of ideas came in to try to move the Jewish religion in their way. Notice the names have changed to protect the innocent. The names have changed. So now we're having Arabic-sounding names. So the most important sect were the Ananites. Now, this is something that lasted until today. Named for their founder, Anan ben David, who, rejecting the Talmudic halacha, and this is there are many things written about this. He was involved in a political dispute. This is really a political argument between rabbis. Saw Jewish life as based solely on the Bible, that is, the written Bible, as interpreted by him and his disciples, because he is the one that was knowledgeable enough to interpret it. The sect was subsequently called Karaite, and much of his doctrine was based on Muslim influence. It's very interesting. The doctrine was developed by Benjamin ben Moshe Nahawendi between the years 830 and 860, and other scholars who extended the exegesis and added new tenets. So that just means they learned out. Now, one thing missing from what he's saying is that they rejected the Talmud, the whole Talmudic tradition, because the Talmudic tradition depended on a hierarchy of certain type of learning, and the fight within that group of scholars led to complete split-off between, let's say, the losers, and started their own. And they said, we're going to reject the whole Talmudic thing. And so now they're just strictly working with the 5 books of Moses and the written Torah. Scholars extended the exegesis and added new tenets. So now this is the beginning of all of the Karaite set. Benjamin's legal works, the Sefer of Mitzvot, the Book of the Precepts, and Sefer Dinim, the Book of Laws, represents an attempt at a comprehensive code of Karaite law. So here they're changing Jewish law. They're the Jewish people changing Jewish law in their direction. Hiwi al-Balkhi, probably born in Balkh in Afghanistan, was a contemporary of Benjamin. Now, I've been to Afghanistan, and you're talking about a way out, far away place. A free thinker, he rejected both the written and oral law, being influenced by various Persian religious trends. His doctrines did not survive him by many years. So he says 3 outstanding Karaite personalities were the following: Salman ben Yehurim in the 10th century, Daniel ben Moshe al-Kimizi, 9th and 10th centuries, considered the follower of Karaism in Palestine, and Jacob al-Kirkisani, first half of the 10th century. The greatest Karaite philosopher was that man, Jacob al-Kirkisani. Most of the Karaites who settled in Jerusalem in the first half of the 9th century joined the Avei Zion, the mourners of Zion, a group of Jews devoted to mourning the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem. The group also included Rabbinite Jews, which are Jews that hold by the Talmud. The existence of the Karaite movement was one of the factors that led to the rabbinate examination of biblical texts and the subsequent codification of the spelling and reading of the Hebrew Bible. Now, I just want to say, for those of us who study Torah, to listen to this one more time. He says, the existence of the Karaite movement. So the Karaites only worked with the written Torah. They didn't work with the oral Torah, which is the Talmud. So they made extensive studies into it, was one of the factors that led to the rabbinite, that is, the rabbis, the students of the Talmud, which is really, these are the people who really run Judaism today, to the rabbinite examination of biblical texts and then to start organizing the text. So we're understanding here that apparently that some ideas of the written Torah may have been printed or published in this is before the printing press, so they were all written down and there were errors in them. So therefore the rabbis in Jerusalem, which is, listen, Jerusalem at this time is under Muslim rule. He says the rabbinate, the biblical test, and the subsequent codification of the spelling and reading of the Hebrew Bible. So all of that in our tradition came about as a result of, he's saying, of the influence of the Karaites, who are called in Hebrew Karaim. So maybe I'm going to call them Karaim. I have a tough time pronouncing Karaite.